everyone, and welcome to the debut show of We Know, Do You Know? I am Pam, your host, and my co-host is my good buddy, Dawn. Dawn, are you with me?
I am here. Hello.
Hey. I'm surprised that you're able to call in and your phone lines haven't gone down with everything that's going on around there.
I am too, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. That's all you can do at this point.
That's
well,
so true.
For our listeners, this show is going to be an informative show. We want to make it informative and fun. It's not normally going to be on a Wednesday night. We're going to do it every other Thursday of the month. I don't think we've quite figured out if we're going to do it the first and third Thursday or the second and fourth Thursday, have we?
I don't think we've set a definitive time, like that particular. We haven't got it down to that exact size, but we're working on it, right?
Yeah. There's been a lot going on, and that's why we're not as prepared right now to give you a ton of information, but it will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on either the first and third Thursday or the second and fourth Thursday of the month.
That's right.
You'll just have to follow us on Twitter at We Know Do You Know. Also like our Facebook page under the same name. And you can even check out one or the other website. We don't have a particular website for this show. I have it under take2radio.com. That's with the number 2. And Dawn, which website do you have yours on?
It's actually under the Air Nation Radio Network. So every show that people hear here, they can also find it on iHeartRadio. So we're kind of all over the place, really.
Yeah.
What happens when you take two veteran radio people, put them together to do a show? It's like, where do we want to do this from? It's like, options are everything, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, but very informative indeed. And but Pam, I have to say before we get started that it's just kind of neat being back on air with you. It's been such a long time.
I know. It's been probably close to a year, right?
Yeah, probably, if not a little longer than that. But, yeah, it's like really so I think this show, you and I doing it, we're always, it's kind of interesting that we decided to do a show because we're always talking about informative things off air, being friends and everything.
Right.
And so, putting it to good use now is really going to be cool for the listeners, I think.
Exactly. Why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit more about what we're going to do?
Well, our show, this was kind of like an impromptu thing Pam and I were talking about one night. As I just said, we spent so many off-air conversations talking about things happening in the news, world events, and just everyday practical information, things that we've shared with each other, tips and advice and, you name it. And as we talked more and more, it was like, one day we kind of just both had this epiphany, hey, we should do a show to this effect. And so, as we talked further, we realized that this really could be a great information piece for listeners to get some handy information about anything under the sun. And our topics are going to be different each time. So we're not falling into like a particular genre or a category where we're talking about, flowers every week. I mean, it's just an anything goes kind of information show that we feel will be a great information base, or we hope, where people can come and get information that will be practical that they can use moving forward. Even if they don't use it right away, at some point maybe they may remember something we spoke about on the show and go, oh, wow, because I find myself, I don't know about you, Pam, but I found myself doing that just from gathering information from other places, at a later date going, oh, my gosh, I remember when they talked about this on the news, or they gave this tip, or I saw this online, and all of a sudden you realize just how practical information can be, and information is something we're always getting, and it's nice to kind of weed out the stuff that's not important and just kind of pare it down to what is and what pertains to people's lives. So I think it's going to be a great show, and I'm very excited, as I said, to be back on air with you and doing this show with you.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same exact way. And speaking of when you find something online that you think you might use at a later date, I know that I'm probably not the only one that has probably 32,000 bookmarks,
Yeah. Tell me about it.
And then you'll think of something and say, wait a minute, I think I saved that to my computer. And then you go through all those bookmarks and you're thinking, geez, did I really save all of this stuff?
And then I don't know about you. I just did this the other day, probably 2 days ago, as a matter of fact. I'm like, I had to look for something. I thought I had saved it in my bookmarks, and I start looking at my bookmarks on my laptop, and I was like, really? Okay, so I'm going to spend 4 days now looking for the bookmark that I think I've saved, really. And maybe we should go on that at some point, Pam. I'm not kidding. I mean, seriously, people have done this. You know, the adage is, you know, save this as a bookmark on your computer. And people do it because it's easy and practical, but then when you try to go back and you find what you're looking for, it can be like looking for a needle in a haystack almost.
Exactly.
It's almost easier.
And I have a desktop, I have a laptop, I have a what do you call it, a tablet. So, you know, I've got bookmarks everywhere.
I know when I'm sending
so
you
funny.
for your birthday.
What?
I'm going to send you a ginormous bookmark with all your bookmarks on it. So, and I'm going to have it denoted
that could be helpful and useful. But it's too funny because I know we all do it. We're not the only ones, Dawn.
No, we're not. But you know, it's something that we think is going to make sense when we bookmark something, and then it can be insanity when you're trying to go back and find the information. So I guess, you know, as a kind of a segue into what you just said, anyone listening out there this evening can kind of think of our show as kind of a bookmark. But the great thing about our show is you don't have to necessarily save us to your computer. You can come back and listen anytime. You can download the episodes. But the great thing is we also will have a blog on our respective sites. Pam will have it for the We Know You Do You Know page on her site, as well as on the Air Nation Radio site, where we will, you know, put the information that we've talked about online or on the show here, and then you can just refer back to it, and that may be easier than trying to save something as a bookmark. So we will be your bookmarks, only we will make it easy for you to find what you're looking for at any given time. So hopefully that will help.
Definitely. All you have to do is, you know, it's if you go to Blog Talk, you can look under Take Two Radio, and you will find the shows there. But we'll also be posting the podcasts on our respective websites as well. On take2radio.com, if you go to the Home tab and you hover over it with your little pointy thing, you'll see where it says We Know, Do You Know, and that's where you're going to find the podcast. And then a little tab will stick out of that, and that's where you'll find the blog on my website.
Well, there's no reason why anyone can't find us. That is for sure. We're kind of all over the place. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about our information and where people can find us, you can also find us on Twitter, and it's We Know Do You Know. Simply We Know Do You Know. Just go to Twitter. And if you want to follow us, and we'll always have the topic of what we're going to be talking about out there in advance. Pam and I will be promoting it so that you guys can follow us and you know, and keep up with it and tune in, you know, if it's a topic of interest. And we hope that you'll want to tune in every time, because we're going to try to keep this very interesting and very real, but just very interesting, where, you know, it piques your interest each and every time. So, and we've got some great upcoming shows and some great topics that we're going to be discussing, which, you know, definitely interest Pam and I. So we hope it will be to you as well. We also have a Facebook page, We Know Do You Know. So, and just remember the name, We Know Do You Know. That's very catchy. Just don't say it 10 times fast. You may get tongue-tied.
Yeah, right. And just so you know, we don't always know, but we research, and then we know, and then we share it with you, so you know.
Exactly. And, I know people have been asking you and I, Pam, I've been getting this a lot. What is this we know, do you know thing? What is this business about? And then, the WKDUK, people have been seeing that, and they're going, what does that stand for? I've gotten all kinds of responses. I'll just say that. So, needless to say, it is, this is what our show is about. We know, meaning that we have gathered information for you about a topic, and we're hoping that the information we give you, some of it at least, will be, stuff you've never thought about before, you've never heard about in any other, medium, and that we can be kind of your go-to place, in a sense, for some great information, some great fact gathering, for topics that we feel are of interest to you. So that's where We Know, Do You Know comes from. And that was Pam's great idea, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We were just throwing out different titles of what we could come up with, and, my brain just works that way sometimes, and I'm able to come up with titles of shows, and I think this one works appropriately for what we're going to do. I want to give a shout-out to Brandon in our chat room. He helped spread the word just now for us on Twitter, and I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Brandon. Hello, Brandon. Hi. I love Brandon. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world. So it's good to see you in the chat room, Brandon. Thank you for being here.
Definitely. And if anybody would like to call in, I guess we should tell them what our topic is tonight.
Yeah, really.
It's the it's the Winter Storm 2014, and just about every area of the United States is going through it, except, of course, the West Coast. California is going through it a different way by not getting any rain. I think recently they did get some, though. Thank God for that. And we'd love to hear from you if you have been going through it in the Midwest, in the South, in the East, especially those of you like Dawn that are in North Carolina and getting hit with it pretty hard. And just to say that's very unusual is putting it lightly.
Well, and you're being very nice because, you being from the Midwest, I know there are Northerners out there that are looking at these reports this evening going, these Southern people are so silly. I mean, especially you, how much snow would you say that you have had there in Chicago this year alone, this winter season?
I think I saw recently something about, oh my gosh, I want to say it was like 88 inches, and that we beat out some kind of record, from maybe 30 years ago. I think it was from the blizzard that we had in 1979. Now, mind you, that's a blizzard, and we got all that snow at one time. This 88 or so or more inches that we've gotten now has just been continual. And I think that's worse than getting a blizzard, because when you get that blizzard, you get it, you deal with all that snow for, hopefully no more than a week or two, and then it's gone. With this being continual, I feel so much for the drivers out there that have to go to work every day, those that have to go to school. No matter what you have to do and you have to go out in it, I feel for you. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not working, so I don't have to deal with it, but I fear for my family being out there. Because not only is there snow, of course, there's ice. When the nighttime comes and, if you had sun during the day like we did today, and then we get that polar vortex that we've been going through where we're at minus 30 degrees, that melted snow then turns into ice. And then, of course, on the highways and expressways, it turns into black ice. And, my gosh, what a disaster it's been.
Well, I honestly cannot sit here and think of a single day that I've talked to you this winter season that you have not said, it is 40 below, and, okay, maybe 20 below on given days, but every time I've talked to you, you have either had snow the night before, it is snowing when I'm talking to you, or you're expecting snow that evening. I mean, it seems like every single day, especially throughout the month of January, you were getting snow every day, and I can believe that you have 88-plus inches. I just saw a report, I think it was just over the weekend, as a matter of fact. Pennsylvania, I think, is sitting at about 46 inches for this season, which is a record for them. And I'm sure other places like Ohio, Brandon's in Ohio, I know, and he, every time I turn around, he's posting about snow himself. So a lot of places have just gotten record snows and amounts, accumulations that in recent years just have been unheard of. So I feel for you. I tell you, I would want to be up there, but it's nice to get snow. We're getting it today. We've had our share this winter. But after this little event we're having today, tonight, and into tomorrow is over, I'm done. I'm ready for spring. Yeah. Bring it on. I'm sure many people out there are saying the same and have been, but that is my feel. We're getting our big snow. Everybody's going to be happy. We've had our snow cream and yada, yada, and let's get on with it. I'm ready for spring, flowers, and all that jazz, which, by the way, yesterday I was checking my mail, and I noticed that I have little shoots of buttercups coming up through the ground, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, really?
Oh, my gosh.
They won't be there now after
they're
this
not
cold
going to be there.
No.
Once the snow is gone, they went back hiding.
That's right. Spring is trying to spring. It's trying to spring here in North Carolina, but it's the weather is just not cooperating. So it's going to be a bit yet.
Well, I have to tell you, I was watching the news before we went on air, and I told you they were talking about North Carolina and the East Coast and that. And they said there was a severe gridlock in Raleigh this afternoon, even after being told to stay home. Lots of them are stuck in the snow, and the governor, Pat, I think he said his last name is Crory. Is that his last name?
Pat McCrory. That's
our
governor.
He says, he's saying stay home, and as he put it, don't be stupid. Don't put yourself, others, and vehicles, like emergency vehicles and that in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So those are wide words.
Here's my thing. We have our meteorologist here, when even the thought of snow, and I know a lot of people from the north are going to be laughing when I say this, but this is so true. When there is even a minute possibility that we could get snow, they start talking about it like a week ahead. Because we don't get it regularly. We used to get it when I was growing up. We used to get snow in the winter, and it was pretty commonplace. But because, if you want to call it global warming or whatever it is, as the weather has changed through the decades, or at least the decades of my growing up, weather has changed, and our snowfall in the winters has been less and less, or it's been harder to predict because we've had milder winters. So now, when we even get a storm like we're getting right now with PAX, coming through the Carolinas, that has already hit, Mississippi, Louisiana, and it's moved into Tennessee and is moving on up into Virginia. I mean, when you get a storm coming out of the Gulf that's been building for the last week, like we are getting right now, and it is predicted, and it has the moisture and the precipitation with it, and then it mixes with the cold front that's coming down from your part of the woods, which has come from Canada. We always here in North Carolina always get hammered. So last week at this time, our meteorologists here were already calling for this stuff. A local guy that I really believe he knows this stuff was saying last week, before any of the other guys in the area were already saying this could be a big deal. But they start to build it and they start to hype it, and they've been wrong more times than not. So we kind of sometimes laugh at them because we think, it's not going to do it. So today, I think, was a little bit a mixture of skepticism, but, people have been hearing this for a week. And so for anyone to be out there on the roads today and gridlocked, that was their own stupidity. I mean, I hate to say it, but I personally didn't work today, and I work for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And this afternoon at 1 p.m., they had canceled classes for the remainder of the day through 11 a.m. tomorrow. And then they went ahead and announced that it was mandatory closing for employees, which that's a third level closing. And when it gets to the point where they're closing the whole university for everybody, they know weather's coming, and you better take heed to it. So I have friends that had to work beyond, that left there like at 1:30 and 2 today when they dismissed and did not get home till 5 and 6 o'clock this evening because the roads were so bad. So, I work 45 minutes from where I live. It was just not worth it for me to travel and then get stuck in that today. So I was like, I'll just take a day off. I'm not going to worry about it. But and I'm sure a lot of people are going, why didn't I do the same? But on the backside of that, I say all that to say that tomorrow we will be completely paralyzed. There may be power outages overnight because now this stuff is transitioning to sleet and freezing rain, and there's a threat of power outages overnight, which is, I think, the worst because you're asleep, you wake up, you're cold, everything's out, you don't realize it till you're awake. And there will be nothing open tomorrow. Schools have already announced closings. I'm sure many businesses are going to be closed. I believe into Friday even, because this is supposed to continue into midday tomorrow in some form or fashion. So, yeah, it's a mess. We don't get this, and even though we have some equipment here to, take care of the roads, we're not like you guys up there where we've got the snowplows that are out as soon as it starts and is clearing things and making things passable. And people down here just absolutely don't know how to drive in it. So it is crazy.
Just an FYI for your drivers out there, I'm looking at an article online right now, and it says, according to ABC 11 in Raleigh, police weren't even responding to minor accidents, instead telling drivers to exchange license and insurance information. So, if you have a minor accident, be sure to, exchange your information, but just know that the officers and emergency vehicles will not be coming to you anytime soon. They want to clear the roads as quickly as possible and get to those that are in dire need.
Well, and here's another thing, and this is related, but it's not, it's a fact, but it's not like an important thing people need to know unless you are a UNC Tar Heel fan or you are a Duke Blue Devil fan. And tonight in Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils were supposed to play. This is the rivalry in the ACC. There are other rivalries, but none compares to the Carolina Tar Heels and the Duke Blue Devils. Well, Duke was supposed to leave about 5 this afternoon. Now, Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Durham are only 8 miles apart, okay? And the road that leads between the two universities is called Tobacco Road. Duke was supposed to leave about 5 p.m. today to head over to Chapel Hill for the game tonight. And about an hour before we went live, the reports were coming out of both basketball camps that the game had been postponed, and it's been rescheduled for February 20th because the roads are that bad. And, you're talking about fans trying to get to the game. It's just not safe for anybody to be on the roads. I mean, when the Highway Patrol are imploring you, and as of yesterday, the National Weather Service was saying, the Highway Patrol was saying, stay off the roads. It's going to be bad. Don't get on the roads for any reason unless you absolutely have to be on the roads, which is always advice that's thrown out anytime there's a weather system like this. People, I think, just think they're vigilantes or something. They're just going to defy gravity and, and all these things, and just get out there. And a friend of mine is out. Her and her husband are out joyriding in it tonight. I'm like, really?
Oh, my gosh.
I don't mind getting out when it's, when it's daylight and you can see where you're going and it's packed down and they've done some salting. But at nighttime when this stuff is due to change over to sleet and freezing rain and it's sheet ice, I don't care what kind of four-wheel drive you've got. That's not going to help you in that situation. So it's better to just stay home, get fat eating everything in the cupboard, and just, veg out and just watch television and listen to reports and things, because that's about all it's good for, unless you want to go out and, and make a snowman or something and play in the snow. But
or your snow cream. So let's go ahead and talk about snow cream, Dawn. Now, she brought this up to me when I talked about all the snow I was getting, and I thought she was like, kind of loony or something. I didn't know what the heck she was talking about. So obviously it's not something that's well known in Chicago. So go ahead, Dawn.
Well, you know what? And Brandon, if you're in the chat room, so if you've ever heard of this, please let me know. But yes, in the South, here in the South, and I've been seeing these pictures floating around on Facebook ever since they started calling for snow of this magnitude. When you get an inch or two, you can't really do anything with snow cream. But for anyone out there who is scratching their head like Pam did the first time I mentioned this to her, let me explain what this is. This is a winter staple in the South. And snow cream is made, it's just like ice cream, only you use snow to make it. And the rule of thumb is you never make snow cream with the first snow, because the first snow is considered the air cleaning snow, where it gets rid of all the germs, the gunk, and all the stuff floating around in the atmosphere. And so that's the rule of thumb. You never use the first snow. The second snow and beyond, you're fair game. But what you do, you just take a bowl, a pot, whatever, go outside, fill it up with snow, bring it in. You add a teaspoon of vanilla, a cup of sugar, and you add, the milk, whether it be skim, low fat, whatever, and you mix it all together until it's like an ice cream consistency. And then you eat it just like ice cream. Some people put chocolate syrup on it. Other people add other flavorings to jazz it up. I just like good old plain vanilla snow cream. It's nothing. As a matter of fact, I went out today, got snow. I've been seeing people on Facebook all day from my area talking about they went out and made snow cream, because this is the best snow to make snow cream in. Got it all, filled a bowl up full of snow with snow off of the hood of my car, and didn't even come. I had about 5 inches of snow on the car. Didn't even come close to seeing the bottom of the car. It's just, still snow. And filled the bowl up, came in, me and my daughter had a bowl, and we were happy. And it's just the coolest thing to make. I mean, because the snow is the consistency, and you've already got that. You just add the other ingredients, and all's well with the world. So,
well, yeah, I have to tell you that Brandon put snow cream ? LOL. So he's going with me on this one.
Because anyone above North Carolina, Virginia has no clue what snow cream is. It's not a staple. And it's really the thing that amazed me when I talked to you initially about this, and you had no clue what snow cream was. That blew my mind, because you guys, where you live, Brandon where he lives, up in the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area, you have so much snow. I told Pam, I was joking with Pam, I said, you guys could package this stuff and make a killing this time of year, because it's very tasty. I mean, you add flavoring. It tastes like vanilla ice cream, and it's very fresh. There's no crazy taste to it. I mean, it's almost like a snow cone. And I know you've had a snow cone. If you haven't heard of a snow cone, okay, well,
yes,
it's like a snow cone.
We've had those.
All right. Well, it's like a snow cone, only when you mix the milk and everything and you add the vanilla flavoring, the consistency is like ice cream. That's why it's called snow cream, only you're using snow instead of milk products. But it is similar to like a snow cone, where you've got the shaved ice and you put the flavored syrups in it and you're eating it. It's the same kind of premise, only it's made with vanilla mostly. And some people put Eagle brand milk in it. Some people get real crazy and put eggs, and they really have these fancy recipes. I mean, it is a huge deal here. So that's one of the things that when people in my area start seeing that we're going to get snow, and they're saying we're going to get lots of it, that's what you see a lot on the post. You're starting to see these things, these posts going, oh, I hope it snows a lot so we can make snow cream, because it is just one of kind of the little asides to having snow in our area. So, yeah. So anyway, it's a lot of fun, and I would recommend anyone to just try it. You can always say, "Ooh, I don't like this," and never eat it again, but try it at least once and just see. And because the only way you're going to find out if you like it, and to find out that we're not crazy in the South like you think we are, is to go and make it and enjoy it. And Pam, you have yet to make it. I'm telling you, I've already had 2 bowls, and still are debating whether you're going to go out and get some snow. So
oh
it's
my
crazy.
Gosh. I will one of these days. I'm waiting. Maybe, hopefully, my son will do it, because Dawn told my son about it. But Dawn, we do have a couple of callers, and I'd love to go ahead and pick those up, and one at a time, of course, and see what their story is. Area code 678. You're live on the air.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Dawn. It's Sabina.
Hi, Sabina.
Oh, I thought it was you.
Don't you know my area code by now?
Yeah, I know your area code, but I don't have your phone number memorized, so I just kind of thought it was, but wasn't sure. So, what's going on in Atlanta today?
Oh, it's all ice. It's all crap. It's horrible. I mean, literally, there's sleet, freezing rain. There was a little bit of snow, and it's further north that they're getting the real snow. And I got to say, I was hearing you talk about the snow cream. I'm actually curious to try it, but I've not had the ability to yet. Now, the last time we had the snow, I guess I could have possibly. We didn't get that much, though. Mm-mm. So we usually get more ice than snow. And I don't know if we can use the ice necessarily.
Well, you can make a snow cone with the ice. That one you can do.
I think now I've never used any of the ice because I think what happens is, now that, and we're starting to get all the sleet and ice too on top of the snow, the beautiful snow that was coming out earlier today. It's all transition now, but I think it would pack it down so much that it would be hard to, to have that fluffiness consistency so that you can mix with the ingredients. So I don't know that it would work. But if you had gone out earlier today when it was still snowing in your neck of the woods, did you get any snow at all, or has it just been all
probably
ice?
in the middle of the night, just like a trace.
Yeah.
But it's been mostly sleet and I guess freezing rain, but I feel like it's mostly been sleet because there's a lot of white stuff, and of course it's freezing over as well, and it's getting all on the power lines, and that's making it really bad because there's been a whole bunch of people that have had trees fall into their house, and actually a few people that have had them fall on them in their beds, and luckily they were okay from it. But I mean, it's bad because the ice is weighing all these old dead or possibly or almost dead trees, or it's just weighing down branches or whatever, and they're just all snapping. Now, luckily, knock on wood, where I'm at, we actually only lost power in the middle of the night, must have, because when I woke up, there were signs that the power had gone out in the middle of the night, but it was on when I got up. And again, knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky where I'm at, but there are lots of power outages throughout the whole state and throughout Atlanta itself.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Now, let's say that your power did go out, and of course you lost your lights and your heat and that. Do you have anything prepared with yourself and your family to notify people where you are, that you're safe, or to go somewhere safe and warm?
Somewhat. I think there are shelters that that are in place. And they're talking about them on the news now. I don't have the actual locations or numbers off, hand, but it is online. Of course, I have one of those great smartphones, so even if the internet was down, I still could get on, unless of course, heaven forbid, all the phone lines were screwy. But I think we're pretty much prepared. We have a generator, but it doesn't work apparently. So.
Well, that's not going to help you too much.
I know. We haven't exactly had to use it, so it's kind of just sat there, and I guess there's a fuse that needs to be replaced or something. And it was I guess found out about yesterday, so I don't think that it was able to be replaced yet, the fuse. So. I don't know.
I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to share this with you. I'm on www.ready.gov/winter weather, and it says if you are in a winter storm and extreme cold and you lose power or heat during those periods of extreme cold, text the word shelter plus your zip code to 43362, which is for FEMA, and it will give you the nearest shelter in your area.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
So you should keep that in mind. And then also they talk about, calling a family meeting together and making a plan. Pick the same person for each family member to call or email. That way, you can reach out to everybody, and there's only one place you have to email or text to. Or call to let everybody know that you're okay, or if you need help. If they say on their text, don't call, don't talk unless it's an emergency. It might be easier to send a text if you have a phone and you don't want to tie up the phone lines for emergency workers. Create an escape plan, a place to meet up. Get everybody's contact info and the meeting spot location. Pack a backpack with things, wallet, taped inside your school notebook if you're at school, so you know where to go and what to do or who to call. So it's all useful information. I mean, and this goes for not only just snow, but, think about all the floods and things that we have too.
Yeah. That's
and
a lot
I know
of good
that
information.
Yeah, in Atlanta, they were saying on the news that lots of people were without lights or heat, over 145,000 alone in Atlanta. And that the ice could be up to an inch thick, bringing down power lines besides the trees and that. So don't go anywhere. Stay home. You know, you don't want to be driving. There was some guy driving on the expressway, and the news guy was behind him, and a big tree fell in the middle of the road. Everybody had to slam on their brakes. Thank God there wasn't any ice, and they could stop.
Yeah. No, I have camped in my room and caught up on some shows. So that's the only good thing about this ice is catching up on shows and scrapbooking. So that's what I've done.
Well, Sabina, I did see on the Weather Channel earlier today. They were there in Atlanta, and of course the ground was just solid white. I mean, it looked like you guys. That's why I asked how much snow you had, because he was talking about all of that was predominantly just sleet and freezing rain that had accumulated, making it look like it had snowed several inches, but it was more ice. And talking about how there was a potential for power outages, because the wind, from what I understand, I haven't heard that here, but in your area they're saying the wind could start gusting this evening, 30 upwards to 50 miles per hour at times, and that is what's going to cause potential power outages, because the trees are going to be so weighted down at that point. And they're saying a half inch of ice is the great makings of power outages. A quarter inch, it makes things a little bit tenuous, but a half inch or more is when you start having the down trees and the power lines snapping. So I have been in ice storms throughout my life. They are not fun. So I hope you do not have to, I hope the ice stays at bay and that you do not lose power and that you have to endure that, because that is absolutely the worst winter weather scenario you can have, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's no fun. We had something similar in, I think it was 2011, where the whole city shut down for a whole week because there was an ice storm. But they're saying that this is worse. This is worse than they've ever seen for an ice storm. So I don't know. I haven't seen an ice storm like this or anything less or more. So I don't know what to compare it to. I just know that it's cold and it's awful, but I'm just hanging in there, and hopefully we'll get lucky and it won't be as bad power outage wise. But it is definitely the overnight into tomorrow morning hours, I think they're saying, is the time frame that they're looking at as far as power outages go. But there are a lot of power outages already. And there's even, there's all these different counties, and the county that I live in, there are other areas in this county that have power outages, not too far up the road from me. So it's interesting how that works out. I don't know how the grids work or anything. So, but yeah, they're trying to. They've actually got a lot of crews ready to send out to fix power outages quickly and efficiently. They've got them strategically placed at different mall parking lots or different areas, and some of them are still sitting idle waiting, but that's a good sign, and hopefully they can stay there and not have to go, too many of them go out, but they've already sent some out, but they're there and ready to get the power back on to the bigger numbers that are out, they said first, and then they'll go to the smaller, more secluded areas where it's like a smaller neighborhood that's out and not a widespread. So that I did hear.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in, Sabina. We're going to go ahead and take the next caller, and like I said, just stay inside and stay safe and be prepared to move if you have to.
All right. Well, thank you, and nice talking with you all. And you all stay warm and safe as well.
Thank you, Sabina.
Thanks,
Take
Sabina.
care, and best of luck to you there.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I do believe that we have Brandon on the phone now. Is that you, Brandon?
Hey, everybody. It's me.
Hey, Brandon.
So tell us, how are things up there in Ohio?
Well, first off, I have to say, when I heard of the snow cream thing, I just thought to myself, what? How in the world did something like this come from people where they hardly ever get snow? Like, why did this originate in the north or something? Like, that's what I don't understand.
You know, the truth is that back in the day when I was a young lad growing up in North Carolina, we used to get, like, we would get snows that were 12, 13, 14 inches at a time. And I don't know how it how it originated or where it originated from. It was just, it's kind of a generational thing. I mean, when I was young, my mom, she would make it for my brother and I, and it just kind of went from there. As I grew older, had children, I introduced it to them, and that's kind of the way it, as far as I know, it kind of came about. But yeah, I mean, I remember one winter we missed every Wednesday for a month when I was in school. I want to say I was in middle school because we had major snows, and then we would miss 2 or 3 days, and then we had a huge snow one time. We were out of school for a week, so we used to get really big snows, and then the weather and atmosphere changed, and we got a lot warmer, and we just started having milder winters and very little snow. So this is probably the first big snow we've had since 2000. And, but yeah, you bring up a really good point considering you guys get all the snow and we don't anymore, but go figure, right?
Yeah. The crazy thing about here in Ohio, at least where I live, we don't get a lot of snow in like one event. Like what we have here is a ton of events that are like 2 to 4 inch snow, like that. Like we had a ton of those. Mm-hmm. We don't have one major event. Like I can't remember the last one we had was a couple weeks ago, and that was our biggest snow in at least 2 or 3 years. It was 6 inches we got, and that was enough to shut down the university where I go. And I mean, the university never closes for anything, and it shut down for I think a day and then a half a day, and then a week prior to that, the university shut down because of cold. Now that was foreign to me that a university would actually shut down due to cold temperatures, but yeah, it was 20, 25 below with wind chills, 30 to 40 below.
Yep.
And that's been
I can't even count the number of days that my son has been off of school due to the extreme cold. It has nothing to do with the snow. I mean, we've had, a foot of snow in one day, and they do not shut the school for that. But this extreme cold, they've probably had a good 6 days, I would imagine, off of school for it.
Crazy. I mean, I can't remember where there's been this brutal. I mean, I can't believe it. And the local school around here that I graduated from, I believe, has they've missed 17 days already because of cold or snow. And I don't know how they're going to make them all up, but the Congress or whoever in Ohio governing body put out a bill, hopefully to give them 4 extra days, which would give them 9 snow days, I believe. But I mean, still they'd have all those snow days to make up. I mean, I never missed that much when I was in school.
No, we didn't either. And the way we used to do it is they would just tack it on to the end of the school year. Pam and I were talking about this the other day. My kids, well, my one kid who is still in public school, my other 2 are in college, but my youngest daughter, she had to go to school on a Saturday, just a couple Saturdays ago, to make up a day for the snow where they were out. And they'll probably have a couple other... They went till like 12 o'clock. They went a half a day, which counts for a whole day. As long as you're there by, you're there till 11:30, it counts. But still, teachers don't like Saturday schools. Students certainly don't, and parents are not crazy about having to take their kids on a Saturday. Well, some parents probably are delighted, but for the most part, it's just asinine to even have a Saturday school day because it's not even a full school day as it is. Just tack it on to the end of the school year, or take it away from spring break. I mean, but we have a set number of days in North Carolina, and we have to be done by a set date. It used to never be like that, but, the politics of the education system, which could be another show, but we won't go there today. Did they ever get your parking lots? Did they ever get the parking lots cleared at Ohio where you go, Brandon?
Yeah. I think you know the answer to that. No. See.
No.
This was last Monday, I believe, when the storm hit, and now it's Wednesday the following week. I mean, there's a patch so you can, get through on the parking lot, but the individual spaces, you can't see the spaces because they're so ice-packed with probably at least an inch of ice and snow. The whole parking lot, it's in a circular, like a rounded area parking lot, and all the way around the whole outer ring, the parking spaces themselves are just completely iced. You don't know when you park if you're parking in a space or where you're parking. It's just, it's treacherous to get in and get out because it's so icy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why, when we were closed on that Monday or Tuesday of last week, why they didn't try to do something then. I mean, they got enough money to be able to take care of those parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I could go on and on about the
when
university and how they take care of it.
When we do the show on why universities do what they do, we'll have you call back and we'll discuss this because I think
it could go on for a good hour.
Oh my gosh, it's the same way in Carolina. They called classes today, canceled them for students and staff and everybody, and that's it's kind of like you saying Ohio closed down for bitter cold. It's unheard of for a university to close for anything. I mean, it's got to be bad for them to do that. So, yeah. Needless to say, it's quite interesting, to say the least, in how they go about making the decisions they do.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's all I'll say. I'll stop there.
Well, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Sabina. Do you have a plan of action in case you have to go somewhere, your lights and heat get cut off?
Not really, no. It's sad to say I don't. I mean, this week has been nice, actually. I mean, the temperatures have been, in the single digits to teens. But
yeah.
It's been sunny yesterday and today. That's a plus. But, I mean, no, and I another thing, my car, too, I don't have anything in my car if I ever get stranded, which is sad to say. I don't plan to drive if it gets that bad outside. But
it's funny you say that because with us being from the Midwest and that, we should be the ones that know everything about being prepared for storms, especially when driving in them. And I would bet that it's in the upper percentages that there are so many people out there that do not do this, that they do not prepare, because you always think it's never going to happen to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
and you
that's
can't think that way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Because it's too dangerous. They talk about snow being the deceptive killer, and that's when people get stuck in the snow and they have nowhere to get out, and it's that extreme cold, and they don't have extra blankets. They don't have, a charger for their cell phone. They run out of gas. Their battery freezes. I mean, there's so many different things. If you slide off into a ditch somewhere, and that ditch is deep enough that others cannot see you from the road, you are stranded there, stuck, if you cannot get out of your car, if your doors are covered by snow. Think about it.
That's true.
Who's going to save you?
I think the general consensus, most people, because I've thought this myself, is that they think it's not going to happen to me. Or especially here in North Carolina where we've had so many mild winters, other than this year, which has kind of started to make a believer out of us again in winter weather. But, in years past, I mean, for them to even say, oh, we're expecting 1 to 3 inches, people would laugh at the weathermen and go, really? Come on. We're not going to buy bread and milk for this. I mean, really. And you just never think that you're going to get stranded. I mean, and the other week, when you're seeing Alabama and Georgia and they're stranded in the snow, you're thinking, how do people not know that it's coming? But it's the same mindset as when Katrina hit New Orleans. I mean, no one there thought it was going to be as bad as it was, so no one really prepared. No one left after it was put out there, and people were being implored to leave the area and prepare, and no one was taking heed to the warnings. And I think that's what happens a lot of times, is that people just don't heed the warnings because they honestly don't think that it's going to happen to them. And So they just don't prepare. They don't put the blankets in the car and have everything. But a friend of mine posted yesterday on Facebook, and she said, okay, everybody, fill up your gas tanks and make sure you have some gas on hand, some cash on hand. And you're welcome. You'll thank me later. And, her whole point was we could lose power. You can't go to an ATM. The banks are going to be closed.
Exactly.
People have been joking today going, this is a snow apocalypse of 2014 in North Carolina, So I went and got gas, and I have cash. So, at least to get me by for a day or two.
Exactly. And I just want to let you know that Brandon's call dropped, but we're going to be wrapping up soon anyhow. I just want to give out some links, which we will include on our websites as well. One of them would be that www.ready.gov, and you go under winter weather, or actually natural disasters, I believe it's under, and it'll tell you what to do before a storm, a winter storm, an extreme cold, during, after, and then there's more information. You can actually get a brochure it's packed with useful information, including winter storm facts, how to detect frostbite and hypothermia, which people do not realize that this can happen within minutes, especially with the weather that we've been having, the minus 30 degrees, that can happen within minutes. I was watching the news with people in the hospitals with their black fingers, their black toes. Oh, my gosh, it's horrible. And mind you, yes, most of these people that are in there are the ones that have been stranded somewhere and were unprepared to keep themselves warm and get themselves to a safe place. But it does happen a lot faster than what you think it does, especially us in Chicago. I mean, today it was probably a high of 25, and that was like summer weather to us. And, when I let the dogs out, I didn't put my coat on. I just went out there in my top and my pants and my shoes. I let the dogs out, and I let them back in. If you stayed out there, even though it's 25, if you stayed out there any good amount of time, it can still happen to you, especially hypothermia. And that brings me to another subject, too, of letting the dogs out, your pets. Mm-hmm. Don't forget your pets. Yes, you may have an outdoor dog or you may have an outdoor cat, but when you get weather like that, their poor fur and paw pads cannot handle that. Do not let them out for any extended length of time. I let my dogs go out, do their duty, and bring them right back in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just saw a really neat tip that I think will be very useful to me in this storm and many others out there that I didn't even realize you could do. If you have rubbing alcohol, dishwashing detergent, and a little water, you you take some rubbing alcohol, put it in a squirt bottle with water, and a couple drops of dish detergent, and that is a de-icer. It will de-ice. It works just like of course you would know because you read everything.
Yeah.
But I did not know this.
Not everything, but I do know about that.
Well, that was news to me. I guess I was too busy studying snow cream. But needless to say, I'll let you study the practical stuff. I'm studying the fun stuff, right? It's like yin and yang. Yeah. But seriously, I was like, wow, that is so cool. Because honestly, earlier this morning when I was out before all this hit, I was actually looking for, some sort of salt. And everywhere I went, they were sold out. It was the only thing I didn't have. So when I heard that, I thought, well, I've got all that on hand, so I'm good, So that's good to know. And I'm certainly going to try it.
Another thing I can tell you about, and you may have heard of it, but you may not have. They talked about it on our news quite frequently, is to keep a bag of kitty litter in your trunk.
Yes,
because if
I've
you
heard.
get stuck in snow or ice, you can throw that under there, and that'll give you traction to get out of that.
Yes, and I have heard that as well. And also my mom, now I haven't researched this because, when your mom says something, it's the gospel, right? She came yesterday and she had kitty litter in hand. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? She goes, well, I saw this on the news that you can put this out and it works like melting salt. I'm like, Mom, come on. It'll probably give you traction so you don't slip and fall. She said, no, there was a report about it. So forgive me, I didn't have time to check her story out, but I took her word for it, and so I have kitty litter for that purpose. And but my mom is freaking. She's like, I want this to be over. I don't like snow, and you never know what's going to happen, and you need to get out. And that's another thing to point out before we wrap, and that is, check on your neighbors. If you've got elderly neighbors, check on them. Make sure they are okay, that they have what they need. If it's an next door neighbor, and just be mindful of that. Check on your parents if they're not nearby, but check on them, make sure they're okay. And because really in times like this, it's all about community, and it's pulling together to help one another out, because sometimes that's all we have. Emergency personnel have had trouble getting to, you were just saying earlier, getting to accidents and right. Not being able to attend to everything that's going on. So in times like these, it really does help to rely on each other, because the emergency personnel are not always going to be readily available, and
exactly.
nor are tow trucks or any other thing like that. So
exactly. I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple other links because our time is winding down. Go to the redcross.org and go under types of emergency, and there's an about, there's prepare, and there's respond during. The prepare is great. It tells you how to put together a supply kit for situations such as these. There's preventing and thawing frozen pipes. Always trickle your water when you're in that cold of weather like we've been having, because you could have a disaster on your hands with pipes bursting in your home. You may have your heat and you may have your lights, but if those pipes burst, it's not going to make a darn bit of difference. Also, the biggest thing where the air and heat conditioning people are being called to homes without heat, it's a simple fix. These people have not prepared their heating systems for the winter by changing their filters, and that alone can bring down your heat. So be sure to have your checkups, your yearly checkups, at least twice a year, once for your heating and once for your air conditioning. You don't want to be without either one of those, especially in the extremes. The other one that I would suggest going to, where they talk about making a plan, is www.ready.gov/kids/make-a-plan. All these links will be on our website under the blog, so if you don't have them now and you didn't get a chance to write them down, we'll have those there for you. And again, it's take2radio.com with the number 2, and Dawn's would be under airnationradio.com. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we have a little bit over a minute left. I want to thank you, Dawn. Do you have any last-minute things you want to throw out there?
Just to tell everyone to be safe, be smart, and stay warm, because and hurry up spring. I'm ready for the beach. I'm ready for warm weather. I don't want my buttercups to die and freeze to death. They're trying to come through the ground now. So, yes, hurry up spring. How many days is it? About 30-some. Cannot get here quick enough. So seriously, be safe, everyone out there who are in the path of storm packs, and hopefully in the very, very near future it will all be over and we can kind of get about our normal lives again, hopefully.
Yes, definitely. And we have about 60 seconds left, so I'm going to say please be sure to follow us at We Know Do You Know on Twitter, like our Facebook page by We Know Do You Know. That lady is interrupting me. I don't know if you can hear her, Dawn, but she's telling me how much time is left. And, check out our Perspective websites and follow us on Blog Talks. I'll send you an email each time we have a show scheduled. And with that, I'm going to say thank you to Sabina and Brandon, and thank you, Dawn. It's wonderful to be back with you again, and I look forward to doing this with you very soon. Take care, everybody. Have a good night and be safe.
Good night, everyone.